Good morning. This is Karen at Ontario Library Service North, and we're just getting things set up here, and hopefully everybody's been able to log in okay. And before we begin, I'll just remind you to please mute your line, which is *6, just because we find what happens is a lot of background noise that comes in. Now, of course, Matthew, you won't be doing that since you'll be speaking with us in a few minutes. And to unmute your line at the end if there's questions, then you can push #6. So good morning. Again, this is Karen at Ontario Library Service North, and I'll be introducing our webinar today. If you're joining us, that's great. And this session is Summer Reading Program Ideas, and I'm very happy to introduce Matthew McDonald. He's the Acting Children's Service Librarian at Sault Ste. Marie Public Library, and I'm actually going to turn things over to you now, Matthew. Just a reminder to people who are joining us that *6 mutes your line, and number sign 6 unmutes. So, Matthew, welcome, and thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Like you said, my name is Matthew McDonald, and I'm from the Sault Ste. Marie Public Library. And I've held my position here for the last 2 years. And what I'm going to talk to you today about is Splash, the Summer Reading Club. And we're going to try and get you some ideas of things that you can incorporate in your own Summer Reading Club programs. This session is intended to give you additional ideas, possibly inexpensive ideas, for your Summer Reading Club programs. And as many of you probably already know, the Summer Reading Club manual is already out, and it's full of great ideas. So today I'm not really going to be doing an overview of those. Instead, I'm going to touch on some other ideas that might not be in the manual, and perhaps expand on some other ones that you would find there. So just to give us a little bit of structure, I've created an agenda, and I'm going to start off with talking about the mini themes that are within the theme Splash. Then I'm going to go into some reading incentives that you could incorporate. Then I'm going to talk about a few activities, some games, crafts, and then at the end I'll open up for questions and any comments you'd like to make. One thing you might note is that on this agenda there's no books section. I've left this out for a reason, and that's because what stories you will incorporate in your programs will probably come from your own unique collections. And if you were thinking of purchasing any additional titles, the ebook lists have already been prepared for you, and they're full of excellent resources. But I will probably mention several stories throughout the course of this presentation. So, to start on themes, I've broken it down to these, and after going through the TD manual and thinking about the title Splash for a while, I've come up with this, and you can make some of these the subject of your program, or you can take bits and pieces from each theme and combine it into a single program. And I'll try and relate some of these themes to other things I'll talk about later on. But the first theme is underwater exploration. And in this topic, you can include scuba diving, snorkeling, submarines, or just learning about the ocean. And creating a program around this theme, you might want to do the submarine portal that was in the manual. Or you might want to talk about sea life. This would be a great opportunity to talk about shipwrecks and other things that you might find on the bottom of the ocean. Also, if you happen to have some snorkels and goggles, you could give kids an opportunity to try them on to see what it would be like to wear them. But if you do something like this, I would caution you to clean each one before handing off to the next child. The second theme here is water habitats. And I know it's very similar to water exploration, except we're moving out of the water as well, and we're including all parts of the ecosystem that surrounds or is part of a body of water. And for this theme, I would include oceans, rivers, lakes, ponds, and all the life that lives within these and relies on these water systems. And this will include fish, crustaceans, amphibians, coral, some birds like seagulls, and also ducks and swans, and even some mammals such as beavers and otters and seals. Then we move on to beach activities. These are things that do on a beach or a coast.
I didn't mute my...
So I would include games you might play on a beach, and this would be a great time to break out any beach balls that you might have. This is also the time when you can do some exploring and talk about the various things that might wash up on a beach, or the various life, again, that you might find on the coast, such as crabs. And let's see, you could also look for other things that you'd find on the beach and do things with maybe surfing, since surfing culture is a very popular activity in coastal regions with good beaches. Moving on to the next theme, people and cultures related to the sea. And this is where you get more of your thrilling programs, such as programs based on pirates or Vikings. And I would include islanders as well. So if you wanted to do a Hawaii luau or do maybe a Caribbean carnival, it would fall under this theme. And if you wanted to pretend that you were marooned on an island, which I might talk about a little bit later, it would also fall under this theme. So moving on to the next one, water travel. And this is anything that has to do with boats, canoes, rafts, and I would suggest even swimming. If you were to create a program with some kind of voyage element, you'd be incorporating this theme. Moving on, we have myths and mythical creatures related to the sea. And this is your Loch Ness monsters, mermaids. This is also where you can incorporate some Roman and Greek mythology like Poseidon or Atlantis or the voyages of Odysseus. I would also put stories such as the fisherman and his wife into this category. Also, if you're looking for some Canadian content, you can try incorporating the Ogopogo, a monster similar to Loch Ness Monster that supposedly lives in Lake Okanagan in British Columbia. I apologize if I mispronounced that. Next theme is weather. It's a fairly basic rainy day. It is also one that you can try and make a program around. And it's a good time to break out your rubber boots and any umbrella crafts that you might have. And then finally, something refreshing. And this is something that just cools you off on a hot day, be it lemonade or running through the sprinkler system. If you have any money or freezer space, I would even go so far as to make your own ice cream or frozen yogurt sundae kind of activity. So when you look at these themes when creating a program, you don't have to limit yourself to just one per program. Underwater exploration ties very well with water habitats. People and cultures ties very well with water travel. And beach activities ties very well with something refreshing. So I would recommend you explore each one of these themes and try to narrow your focus and see what complements each other, and then build your program around that. Now this is an example of what we're doing here in the Sault Ste. Marie Public Library for this summer, and this is an example of our 6-week program for younger children, ages 4 to 8. And you can see I've made titles that relate to some of these themes. Down by the bay could relate both to the habitats, and it could be other activities such as beach, something fishy, obviously underwater exploration, but also water habitats as well, sand, or beach activities. Hot days and lemonade, that's going to be more of a refreshing one. Pirate lore and much more, fitting into the people and cultures. and then just a fun beach party to kind of wrap her up. We also have programs for older children as well, ages 9 to 12. And here we're trying to do some things that are a little bit more advanced, or something that you can do with the younger children, but are related to the same themes. So down by the bay and out on the lake are basically the same type of theme, except one is a little more advanced than the other. And we've got more people and cultures with the Viking explorers. We got the water travel plus water exploration, maybe, shipwrecked. We have more of the people and cultures with sea captains, mermaids, and monsters, but we're also including the myth aspect to that one. And then again, we're going to wrap up the older group with a beach party. All right, now that I've discussed some of the broader themes, I'm going to delve into some more specifics that you can do for your programs, because I know that's what you really are here to see and hear about. So first is the reading incentives. These reading incentives are pretty standard. The first one, stickers. You could give a sticker for every certain number of books read, and the reader's goal will be to collect them all. Since TD will be sending you all stickers, the ones shown here, it will be a cost that's practically nothing to you. If you have a little more money, and you might want to try and give out prizes. So the more books you read, obviously the more prizes you're going to use. And you will start it with a small one, and then you'll read and that awesome prize at the highest level. But perhaps you don't want to do a bunch of little prizes. It might be too complicated, or you don't have the money for it. You could try 1 or 2 big prizes instead. And basically you would give a ballot for, let's say, every 5 or 10 books read. And the more the child reads, the greater chance he or she is going to have to win. The final one is a reading wall. And this is a really inexpensive way to get children excited about reading. And here's a sample one that I've put up here on the wall for you. So in this case, for every 10 books, a child is going to be considered a clamshell reader, and they'll get a clamshell, and they'll get to write their name on it, and then they're going to put it under the water board. And then as they read more books throughout the summer, say they get to 25, then they're going to get a starfish, and they're going to advance all the way up to the jellyfish. And kids will get excited to have their names posted at the library, and in this case, many will probably strive to reach the elusive jellyfish. And undoubtedly, each child will be proud of each new level they reach. And you don't have to be limited by the ones that I have here. You could do boats instead, and so you have a little dinghy for the first level, and you work your way up to a big cruise ship or something, or a nice sailboat. Or you could choose different underwater life. So I'm going to move on to activities now. And here's a really simple activity that you can attempt to do. What you need to do is find a video or a sound recording and play it for the group. And if you have younger children, you're going to ask them what noises they hear. And in that way, you start building in their imaginations.
Who wants to talk to me, Chief?
For the older children,
I'll call 12.
the way to do it is to have them try and draw the scene that they imagine as they're listening to this recording. And then at the end, you can kind of go over the different things that each child had come up with and see what some children picked up and others might have missed. On to another activity. This is shipbuilding competitions. and I think this would be really great with groups. You could do it as individuals, but I would recommend breaking everyone up into teams. And the idea behind it is to build a ship based on certain criteria. So each team would receive the same amount of materials. The teams may only use the materials they are given, and then different teams will win based on different criteria, as I said before. And one could be which ship can hold the most weight. You could have competitions to blow them to a finish line. You could have you give prizes out based on which is the tallest ship that floats, which ship you think is the most attractive, which ship you could do with the least amount of materials, etc. So just to continue here, this is a sample of the materials that I would give maybe to a group. And we have here 2 pieces of construction paper, 1 piece of white paper, 3 rubber bands, 2 clothespins, 8 popsicle sticks, 3 styrofoam balls, 4 stir sticks, 4 straws, scissors, tape, and a marker. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of an issue uploading PowerPoint, and I actually had samples of the ships that I put together. But you won't be able to get that because of the issue that we had. I had put together 3 ships. The first one using just the balls, popsicle paper, and some rubber bands. The second one, I used the clothespins, the stir sticks, and straws only. And then in the fourth one, or in the last one, I made it mostly out of paper. Now, another activity that's actually in the manual is to do a treasure hunt, and this is the most obvious one that you're going to do if you're going to do a people cultures one with pirates. So I like to do a little different one than what they did in the manual, and I've done this in the past. What I've done is I've taken photos or pictures of ships, and I've numbered them. If you're in a small library and you just create a map of your library and then draw lines, put a big X, the kids are going to find it right away. So what I like to do is make them follow the numbers, and then it'll make it last a little longer. And you're not just searching for the treasure, you're searching for the next ship. And so you'll go around, and then at the end you'll find the big X. And in the past, with a pirate program that I put on, I've made a treasure chest out of a box using construction paper, and then I would fill it up with prizes. You could do it with full chocolate coins, or you could just make a little baggie with pencils and erasers and a little treat. Next activity that I came up with is shipwrecked or survivor, whichever you prefer. And this is a scenario game in which you're given a scenario and you have to try and figure out what you're going to do. So for this scenario, you're shipwrecked on an uncharted island. What are you going to do to survive? And this can be done individually, in groups, or all together if you only have a small group. And what you need to do is you need to give the kids the essentials. And what I would do is I would write this down on paper and hand it out. So what are the essentials? What is on the island? What items on the ship have survived the wreck? And then you're going to prompt kids and ask them, what are they going to do? What are they going to do for food and shelter? What are they going to do to get the attention of a rescue plane? And if they're in a group, who's going to do what? How many people are you going to send out for food? How many people are going to be in charge of setting up the shelter? Who's going to build the fire to keep warm, etc.? Then afterwards, I would discuss real or fictional accounts of people being stranded on an island. And there are some great books out there. Survival at Sea was a good one for when you're just on the ocean, but there's survival books for if you were stuck on an island. What kind of food is there that you could eat? What do you need to do to survive in different locations? And then, a great movie is the Swiss Family Robinson, where it's an example of where a family is actually stranded on an island and they build their home there. Kind of an extender to that is Shipwrecked, or Survivor, is a new scenario in which a large number of people are wrecked on an uncharted island with no hope of rescue. They now have to build their own country or nation. And what you wanted them to do is pick a name for their country, create a flag or map. You can create an anthem for your country. And then you have to decide other things like what kind of laws is your country going to have? What kind of industries are you going to have? Are you going to have a military? Are you going to be very peaceful? What's your economy going to look like? And here I put an example of a book that you could draw some ideas from, and this is How to Build Your Own Country by Valerie Watt and illustrated by Fred Ricks. And this is one of the Forestry of Reading books, so I'm sure many of you have this book, but if not, you can always pick it up. And this would give kids an idea of what they would need to do in order to build their own country. And this relates back to the theme of peoples and cultures. Moving on. A great activity, I think, would be to create a log of what the kids are doing. So if you have the kids in a program, say it's a weekly program and they meet once a week, or if you have kids that day of the week, same kids, what you can do is you can create a log, and I called this one a captain's log. And it's basically a scrapbook of what you do throughout the whole week. And each week, the idea is to incorporate some sort of craft or activity that you can include into your log. And then you might also want to have your participants write down what they did or what they learned in the program that day. And that way, at the end of the program, on the last week or last day, they have something that they can take with them, kind of remember what they've done over the summer.
Okay.
Now here is just a list of activities that you might want to try if you've got some skills in some of these areas, or you know somebody who has skills in these areas, or you want to learn it yourself, such as the naval knot tying lessons. So if you want to teach kids different types of knots on ships, if you're sailing, you can teach sailing jargon. So this is talking about the different parts of the ship and other things related to that. So you're going to teach them what's the port, teach them what's the mast, and things like that. Learn to talk like a pirate is always fun. It has lots of R's in it. Water glass music is another one that I thought up that would be a lot of fun. And this is basically you get lots of glasses, and the glasses can be different shapes. And if you're unfamiliar with this, and then put different levels of water and wet the rims and make your own little music. Building beaver dams is relating back to the water habitats, and I thought I would incorporate a mammal that kind of lives both in water and on land. And this is something you can do. You just go out and you find a bunch of sticks, and then you challenge the group to make something that looks kind of like a beaver dam. Clam digging competitions. Now this could be also done as a game, but what I would do is I would get a bucket and some sand, find it, or dirt, and I would get something that looks like clams, or maybe rocks that you can paint, and then I would bury those in the buckets at different levels. And the idea is to dig the clams out, and by making it a competition, it's how many clams you can dig out in a certain amount of time, or who's the first one who can dig out all the clams. Searching for mussels, I'm from Nova Scotia, so I actually did this when I was younger. I would go along the coast, and I would search under rocks, and I would pick mussels off, and I would put them in a bucket. So what I would do for searching for mussels within your library is I would get pictures of mussels and print them out on cardstock, get a whole bunch, and then I would plaster them in an area and get kids to run and pick them up and put them in their own little bucket. Make it a competition by the most. And another activity is learning flag signals. It was a really important part of sailing back in the day when communications were basically done with flags and lights. So one signal, I require assistance, basically a white flag with a big red X on it. And you can teach kids the different types of signals that the Navy would have to use in order to communicate with other ships or with the land. Now I'm going to move on to some games that you can play. We've got crab races, and your basic running a race sideways or backwards using your hands and your feet. We have what time is it, Mr. Crocodile or Mr. Shark? And this is the same as what time is it, Mr. Wolf, in which kids move a number of steps according to the time that you give them and flee when it's lunchtime. And that's me there in that picture. I am Mr. Shark, waiting to be asked what time it is. Does It Float is a game that you can do with younger children in which you challenge them to guess which objects float and which ones sink. One thing you could try that would probably fool a bunch of them is you get a lemon, and a peeled lemon and an unpeeled lemon do different things. So one will float and one will sink. And then this is a great opportunity to get into a little bit of science and talk about what makes things float, why are some things buoyant and other things are not. Moving into another game, Don't Fall In. This is one I actually played for an Egyptian program, and basically the idea was to cross the Nile and not be eaten by the crocodile. But you can adapt it to whatever scenario you're doing. And what I did was I made rocks out of gray construction paper, and I laid them out on the floor. And then I got children to try and cross. And if they touched the floor and not a rock, then the crocodile or crocodiles had an opportunity to catch that child. So you make it more challenging by removing rocks and by having more children cross at once. So at one point I might ask all the girls, cross the river. Half the group will cross the river, and it will give the crocodiles lots of opportunity to catch children. And then once you're caught, you can have them sit down, or you can have them become a crocodile as well, making it much easier to catch the next child that tries to cross the river. Next we have musical islands, and set up a bunch of hula hoops, and those are going to be your islands. Or you could, again, make them out of paper or whatever materials you have available, and you have them go around. I did this for a pirate program. So the pirates went around the hoops, and then I turned off the tunes, and anyone not standing on the island was out. And every few minutes, again, I would take one of the islands away until only one person remained. TikTok Find the Croc. This is great if you actually have a crocodile. We have a crocodile puppet that we would use. And take an egg timer or an alarm clock if you want to give them a little more time, and hide it and have them try and locate it by the tick before the bell rings. Now this game is suitable for a bit younger audience. Marooned is a game similar to the Don't Fall In, Crossing the River game, and it's basically a game of tag. And with this one, I did it with the pirate program, in which I had each child walk the plank, and I gave them the go to try and cross to an island, which is safe, and had some children as sharks waiting for them to try and catch them. And I would let a bunch of them walk the plank at one time to make it more challenging for the sharks. But as we went on, I would let more and more sharks enter the waters, and then we would try and catch every sailor that went across. And the last sailor to remain wins. And sometimes not all of them actually make it. Sometimes none of them actually make it. Now we have pin the parrot or eye patch on the pirate. This is a variation on your old pin the tail on the donkey kind of game. You can try and print off a picture if you want. You might have a big poster of a pirate already, or just draw one yourselves. And then to see what it's kind of like with a peg leg, you could do three-legged races with children. Now, this is another game that I came up with, and this gives you a great opportunity to talk about sea life and habitats. And you basically just show the kids part of an image at a time, and then they have to try and guess what it is. So here is a little image. You probably have no idea what that is. If you do know what it is, I congratulate you, because I wouldn't have been able to figure it out at this level. We move on. This is actually sideways. It wasn't supposed to look like this, but again, we had problems with the PowerPoint. But you see a little more, you get a better idea of what it could be. But you likely still wouldn't know what it is until you see a little more. So here's a little more. We got a bit of blue there. It looks like it's probably in the water somewhere. Some of you probably guessed what it is by now. A little bit. Now we have a lot of guesses probably by now. A lot of people probably already have figured out what it is. We get to the last one. And there, we've got a sea turtle floating sideways because of this PowerPoint. But we have a sea turtle. And now we can sit down and we can talk about sea turtles. Where can you find a sea turtle? What do they eat? Where do they lay their eggs? And this is a great way to get into certain topics. Another game, and a similar game has been found in the manual. That's where you can find it. But this is one that I've done before, and it's a fishing game. And you challenge kids to pick up the fish with a rod, and each fish on it, you can't really see from this picture, has a paper clip, and the end of your fishing rod you have a magnet. And there's two ways to do this. With younger children, you can do it open so that they can see what they're going for, and with older children, I would probably do a blind fish in which they have to do it over a table and they can't see what they're fishing for. And here I've broken it down to different fish. I have goldfish, which are the smallest, but they're going to be the most numerous fish that you have, and the most likely to catch because they're not as heavy and they're easy to pick up with the magnet. Then we move on to tropical fish. There's going to be fewer of them, but they're a bit bigger. Starfish, again, fewer but bigger, until we make our way up to the elusive whale, which is very large. There's only one of them, and it's very heavy, so sometimes it actually falls off your fishing rod. But not just to have fish, we also have a boot and a can, because sometimes junk gets into your water and your ecosystems. And so we're going to reward kids for cleaning up the environment as well. So you have some great fishermen here, all the way up to the legendary fishermen, and then over just below we have environmentalists. And they can be an amateur fisher and a super environmentalist, depending on what they pull out. So we're doing a little bit of conservation by throwing the fish back, and we're teaching them it's important to be concerned about the environment with this game. And moving on, some craft ideas. See. There are so many craft ideas out there that you can make, and unfortunately I didn't have a lot of time to make many of the ideas that I did come up with and that I found. And I didn't have a lot of time to do a thorough search. But what I've done for this section is to show you some examples of crafts that we've used here at the Sault Ste. Marie Public Library, and some samples I found on the internet, and then I've given you some ideas that I found or I came up with that you might want to try. So here we have a crab craft, and that is made out of a paper plate cut in half. I used some foam paper for the eyes and just some regular construction paper for the arms, and it's fairly simple. But what's great about this craft is it's open in the middle, so that if you were giving something away at the end of that program, you could just simply use it as kind of a container. For a pirate program I put on in the past, we've done paper parrots, and just took an image of a parrot and found a way to make the shapes. And if people are interested in templates, I don't have them prepared right now, but I would be able to email them out later. Next, we have some paper sharks and paper crocodiles, and these are snapping crafts. You could adapt it and make piranhas if you wanted to, or something else that kind of snaps. And these are a lot of fun because the kids can play with them afterwards. They can chase each other around, snapping at each other, trying to eat fingers. And it's simple paper and a little bit of straw taped down to make the snapping. Here's a nice octopus craft that one of my coworkers found. So she got a nice ocean image and pasted it on the back of a green construction paper and cut out an octopus. And this is really great because for tactile, because we have the kind of rough pieces that are the tentacles that are made out of, I believe it's Fruit Loops. And then you have that kind of soft part as well, that's the smile made out of yarn. If you're looking for more tactile, you can make a beach scene, and what you would do is you'd get some blue maybe for sky, and then get sandpaper, which has a really sandy feel, and then you would get you'd cut that out or have the kids cut it out and paste it onto the paper, and then you would get images that you would see on a beach, and you'd paste those on as well. And the sandpaper is a really great touchy-feely kind of craft that you can make. Next is some ideas that I found that I thought were really great. Anything you can do with seashells is going to be a great craft that relates to the themes that we have here, both the habitats and underwater exploration. And here we have merman crowns, and so that's going to relate back to your myth themes if you're doing mermaids or anything like that, or Atlantis. And then ocean in a bottle I thought was a great craft because it just requires a bit of sand, a clear bottle, some water, food coloring, and then maybe a few other little things in there that kind of make your own ocean or seascape or river. And yeah, so I think that's a really great craft that I would be excited to try. These next are cubies. This is something that I've done with older kids and teens. And they're paper crafts, so all you really need to do is find the templates and print them out on paper. I would recommend printing them out actually on cardstock because it makes them a little bit more durable. And the first one up here I found on Family Fun, and that's a great website that you can go to find lots of resources. And we have a surfer dude, so if you're doing people and places related to the sea, you got a surfer here. If you're doing water travel, you got a surf board, so you can use the surfer dude there. And then just some more cubies, and I have here a swamp monster. We got Kermit the Frog and a spiked puffer fish. And the only challenge with this is you might want to cut out some pieces ahead of time, and there are some pieces that may require you to use an X-Acto knife or a box cutter, and I would say that you should probably do the cutting ahead of time for those more difficult parts, and then let the kids do the rest and do the folding up themselves. And then some more craft ideas here, and this is just a list of things that I had come up with. I did have pictures for a lot of them, but unfortunately I had to remove them. The animation didn't work with this PowerPoint. So if you're doing a Viking theme program, you can do Viking shields. I had a great picture of a Viking beard that you can make just using construction paper and some yarn. And you can try making horned helms. Pirates, you can make pirate hats, make little flags. Not a lot of people realize this, but there's more than one type of pirate flag. It's not just the skull and crossbones. That's just the most common. So you could challenge kids to make up their own pirate flags. Parrots, again, like I did before, and treasure maps is another good one. And you don't have to do just a treasure map. You could make all kinds of different types of maps and make that into an activity to map out some sort of area. You could create your own mythological water creature. That's not a problem. So you're talking about the Loch Ness Monster, or you're talking about a swamp monster, or mermaids, and then you challenge them to make their own and see how creative they are and what types of things that they add to the creature and why. More to the myth side, you can make a trident related to Poseidon. You can do another craft related to Atlantis or something. I had a picture of a surfboard craft, unfortunately that didn't make it, but this is a great craft, especially if you're doing beach activities. Try and make it out of something a little durable, and you can make it any size. You can make one that is the length of your hand, or you could make one that's the length of your body, and you get the kids to decorate it themselves. So next, any craft that you can, well, I'll go back to lemonade. You can do the lemonade, you can do the sundaes, anything that you think might be refreshing. And then we move on to underwater life, and that's anything you can think of that relates to these types of creatures that you'd find in the underwater. So we did the octopus craft earlier. I bet you can find lots of jellyfish crafts. I know there was one suggested in the manual. You can do seahorses, fish, sharks, whales, dolphins, crabs, lobsters, oysters, just anything that you can think of that would live underwater. You can basically make a craft around it. Same with the birds. You've got puffins, seagulls, pelicans, herons, ducks. I mentioned swans earlier. Then we have mammals, again the whales and dolphins, but also beavers, otters, and seals, walrus, platypus. If you're looking a little further north, you can do polar bears. We have amphibians, so we're going to think of doing frogs and salamanders. And salamanders is a really good one if you're doing a Caribbean carnival, because that image is used a lot. And then relating back to the people and cultures related to the sea, I mentioned that Hawaii luau. So you get some grass skirts out if you can try and make those out of paper or other materials you might have. Do a little bit of limbo if you want. You can do the Caribbean carnival like I mentioned. You can try some tribal masks. And you don't have to just limit yourself to this. You could make kind of an ocean showcase of countries that are around the ocean. And so you would move from the Caribbean to Cuba to Jamaica, and you would have activities that are related and crafts that are related to each ocean community that we move around. And so that's basically what I had come up with so far. So is there any questions, or is there anything else people would like to share? You guys can unmute your phones now. I believe it's #6 to unmute.
Matthew, it's Karen here. Participants can also, at the side of the screen, there's a hand that you can click to let people know that you have a question. Or as Matthew suggested, if you press #6 to unmute, then you can speak and ask questions.
Hello, Matthew.
Hi.
Hi, it's Allison from Temiskaming Shores. And I would be very interested in getting the templates from you. Do we just leave the Hotmail or the email addresses up to OLS, or?
Yeah, they can send me a list of everybody, and then I can send templates out.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Can you also send us a copy of the PowerPoint presentation from today?
Yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. Is there any more questions, or anybody have any other ideas that they would like to share? You guys are a pretty quiet group, but in case you want to get in contact with me for whatever reason, say I wasn't able to get your email for whatever reason from OLS North, here's my contact information. You can contact me by phone or email, and that is an image of me there as a pirate.
Dude.
So, yeah, definitely do the pirate program. That's a lot of fun. I hadn't considered biking until the manual came out, but that looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. And water exploration, I mean, it's almost unlimited. So there's so much that you can do. And I think there's a lot of information you can convey to the children about habitats and about different people and cultures and about history. So I think this year's theme is a great one.
Thank you very much, Matthew. You've given us a lot of ideas.
Good.
Thank you, Matthew. That was great.
Thank you, Matthew. Just to let people know that we will be sending out an evaluation form. And, Matthew, I can send you the library contacts, or if you would prefer, I can send them out, the templates in PowerPoint when I send out the evaluation. But you and I can have that conversation later.
Okay.
And thank you, everyone, for participating. And at this point, you know, Matthew has very graciously given his contact information. And if you're finished, then all you need to do is to log out or hang up the phone. So thank you for participating. And Matthew, thank you very, very much. It was an excellent presentation. Lots of great ideas.
Thank you.
Matthew.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Matthew. That was great.